This is Romo Dunze, and you're listening to the Ballsville podcast.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
And now, your host of the Ballsville podcast, Scott Fitzgerald.
Welcome in, Ballsville gamers, to another episode of the Ballsville podcast. I am your host, Scott Fitzgerald, a.k.a. Lutz for Sale on Sleeper. And this episode is brought to you by the Ballsville Games. Our games combine fantasy football and poker, which create big payouts with great odds. All right, all. Week 3 is in the books. We had some good games, some bad games. Sean's rocking that Bills. Again, pretty much a drubbing the Bills put on this week. Josh Allen is the number 1 quarterback this week, so we'll talk a little bit about that.
Thing with that, huh?
Yes. So and we and like I said, there's never an episode that goes by without injuries. So before we get into that, I'll introduce you to our panel. Back from Hawaii on her cruise, it is Sarah, who's our producer. Sarah M21. What's up, Sarah?
Guess who's back again.
All right. I was hoping for some like Hawaiian music or something like that, but we'll go with Eminem. My co-host, he's Bill's Mafia. He's on the West Coast, and he is S. Clem. What's up, Sean?
What's up, buddy?
And back again, the good old boy from West Texas. He goes by C-Bomb on Sleeper. What's up, Connor?
What's up? Thanks for having me again.
All righty. Okay. Before we get into it, I just want to go over our podcast schedule. So we have Fridays. We will be on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will go over Ballsville eccentric stuff as far as like some of the standings, some of the guys that were picked up, some trades, stuff like that. That'll be our Friday show sheet. And also, if you have time, the Monday Guillotine Pod that Sean hosts and Connor co-hosts, that's going off every Monday. And I just watched it today, and it's very informative. Definitely take a look at that, especially when they go over the fab bidding for these players. It's very helpful and very informative if you're new to guillotine leagues, because you cannot find a lot of stuff on the internet when it comes down to fab bidding for certain players. So definitely tune into that. It's a lot of fun. And that intro, if that intro doesn't make you laugh, I don't know what does, but that's a killer intro. So definitely check out those guys on Monday night. And don't forget to like and subscribe to both of our podcasts. And it would really help out a lot. And definitely hit the ballsvillegame.com website. We are launched. Have a lot of information on it. Tools are updated daily on there to help win fantasy. Our DFS section's killing it. So definitely get in there and check all that out. So now we were going to get into the injuries. So injury reports came out. We'll first thing we're going to talk about is Christian McCaffrey going over to Germany to look at his Achilles. I guess he's going to experiment with some stem cell stuff. So if a player's going over to a different country to get something done because they can't do it here, or they don't trust the doctors here, to me that's super alarming, super concerning. It's looking now that he may not be back till week 7, 8. It could be longer. I remember a long time ago when Peyton Manning had that neck injury. It was supposed to be a 1 or 2 week injury, and then it went to he's on IR, supposed to be a half season, and then he was out for the whole season. So
You're stealing my words from last night. You must have watched the podcast last night, because I said the exact same thing, and it reminds me of that situation to the T.
Yeah, well, that, like I said, it was great information. So they you had to get it out there. But I'll let you piggyback off it then, Connor. So, so, I mean, I know it's, hindsight's 50-50. You can go back. But if this situation happens again next year, not just say CMC, but let's say a different situation happens with the number 1 overall pick, with this information, are you just going to pass on this guy and just go with the safest person? Because it seemed like there was mixed signals this year when people are like, "Oh, you got to take McCaffrey." Well, he's coming in with injury designation. So what would you do in that situation next year?
Well, you already know my answer. It's not take a running back. That's where you go to first. So if there's a running back and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you
you
got to
guys
take
didn't
him,"
plan that at
don't
all.
listen. You just don't have to listen to anybody that tells you have to take a running back first overall. Okay.
Hey, I don't mind taking a running back first overall. That just happened to be the wrong running back this season.
I mean,
We
he
all
was
kinda
consistent. He was the
went to that at
consensus
the end of the year.
101.
Towards the end of the year, I seen a few leagues where it changed up
Yeah.
right towards the end, but that's because the injury things popped up then. Like, had we known prior, I promise you that you'd have seen Brees or Bijan going 1 overall in a couple of leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I like Superflex League, which is a majority of our leagues that we're in here in Ballsville. CMC was going 101 in some of those, which I just think is inexcusable for the most part.
I would say most of those, to be honest with you, at that time. I would say most of those leagues, CMC was 101.
Yeah. So I just think that's inexcusable in the first place, a running back going first overall when you're only starting 2. You got to pick a quarterback most of the time, and I think the receivers still have a bump in value. So
I don't agree with that at all. It just happens to be that the 101 running back this year was one of the ones that got injured.
who was the 101 last year as a
The
running
guys
back?
who took Bijan, the guys who took Kyron, they're happy as hell that they took those running backs early this time of year.
Yeah, but not 101. That's what I'm saying. Your safer bet at the 101 is not going to be a running back.
Well, those guys didn't have injury designations coming into the season. That's the point that kind of
neither did CMC towards the beginning of the draft season, but it wasn't until towards the end of the draft season, and then he did slip out of the 101 in a few leagues by then. So I get what you guys are saying for sure. I just think that you can't just discard the running back position at 101 because this year happened to have a guy who got injured at that role.
I mean, but like 2 years ago, maybe it was 3 years ago now, CMC was also the 101 consensusly, and he also got hurt that same year. I'm just saying running backs usually are not the safest bet at any point in time at the 101.
All right.
I can't wait to look into how these 0 RB teams turn out compared to the teams that drafted running backs early. I cannot wait.
Didn't somebody just get eliminated from the B-team league just like yesterday?
Oh, Zoobs just writes in Zubakis, Jeff, been on the pod before, he writes in Madden curse. So there you go, man.
Ooh, yeah.
Alive and well. All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to go with
I like
Sean
this
here.
comment by Francis. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's a fake comment. I think that's a bot that you put in there.
That's a brown
Nobody
nosing.
agrees with Sean.
Brown nosing. So I'll go to Sean here. So Sean, couple quarterbacks. So we got Justin Herbert playing on that high ankle sprain. I give him kudos for toughness, but they're going to have to hold this guy out. I mean, he can't protect himself, dropping back in the pocket. I think it'd be wise to just hold him out for 1 or 2 weeks. And then also Skylar Thompson's got this rib injury. He kind of sucks at football anyways. So, it looks like Boyle's going to be in there. So this is going to be super alarming for the Dolphins. They're going to be rushing to get Tua back. But with these two quarterbacks, what's your analysis on these two situations?
I think that for Justin Herbert, I know they want him back for this week because they're playing Chiefs and everything, and it's a big rivalry, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, if anything, dude, that game proved it to you. He should not have played this week. He shouldn't play next week. He needs a few weeks. High ankle sprains are known for being tricky. If you don't fully heal from them and re-injure them, they will linger all season long. And we've all seen what Justin Herbert does playing through injury on all season long. He just does not perform at the same level that we're used to. So, I don't want that to be the case for the Chargers. They've started out 3-0. You're going to be fine if you go to 3-2 because you can't play your starting quarterback this week, as long as you can move forward with him. And then second matchup with the Chiefs, he's healthy and ready to roll. You'll be fine. So I would sit Herbert. As far as the Dolphins are concerned, man, I think this is all just on bad preparation, dude. Like, they should have known they have a concussion-prone quarterback who's already one hit away from retirement potentially, and here came that hit. And they didn't do anything at their backup quarterback role to prepare for that. I think their competition was like Mike White and Skylar Thompson for the backup quarterback role. There was plenty of guys. I mean, they could have went out and got like a Joe Flacco or somebody like that who, could have sat behind Tua and just been ready in case this exact situation came up. And now they look completely lost. It's like the entire team is just not the same right now. Mike McDaniel's flustered out there, it feels like. I think that you're looking at a team that could potentially be on a losing streak for a while if they don't turn something around. And I don't think that either quarterbacks are their quarterback in a few weeks. I think they're going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah, they could have a top 5 pick at the end of the year, the way this is going. And Flacco's a perfect example. Tyrod Taylor, perfect example. Connor, do you have anything to add before we move on?
No, I think Sean's correct for the first time.
Okay. All right, we're going to talk about a nasty hit that happened this weekend that should have been a fine. The hit on Devontae Smith when he was gang tackled and being rushed, basically moved out of the way, and the defender came up and just blasted him. There's no way he could have protected himself. Just a nasty hit. And he is in concussion protocol right now. They're with I'll go to Connor they're without AJ Brown probably for another week. The Covey kid, he's on IR. Goddard had a big week. Where else are you going for targets in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, it has to go to Saquon and it has to go to Dallas Goedert. Goddard got 10 targets, 12 targets or something with 10 catches and 170 yards. I think you're probably going to see more of that. Then you're going to see some more read option with Hurts. I think they run it a little bit more. Saquon has looked amazing.
It's got to be Dotson, though, man. I mean, at this point in time, like, this kid is the only one left now. He's got to step up at some point.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's got to be getting some targets. I mean, he's not a bad player. I mean, if he doesn't do it this week, then why did you trade for him?
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, this is exactly why you made that move to bring him in. This is exactly why you made that move, because you needed that backup just in case scenario, and this is it. He needs to survive you for a few weeks, man. And I agree with Connor that Goddard is their number one target now, for sure. Like, this offense is probably going to have to funnel through the 2 tight end set type scenario or something like that with Goddard and Calcaterra, and, do something like that with Barkley and a lot of read option and, those types of scenarios to survive through this. Hopefully it'll only be for 1 week until AJ's back, but I definitely 100% agree with Connor that it's going to have to funnel through Goddard until then.
Yeah, got you. All right. And then we're going to talk about 2 more tight ends that were injured this week. So you got Trey McBride, who just nasty helmet to helmet hit in the Lions game with Brian Branch. He's not quite hit concussion protocol yet, but it's probably coming. And then Sam Laporta with the ankle injury. He actually came back. It was weird because he went off the field on the cart. So you're thinking, oh my God, this guy's major injury. And then he comes back, he's in the game again. So you're like, what the heck's happening? And then he's back out of the game again. So he is probably dealing with an ankle sprain, whether it's high ankle, mid ankle, low ankle. They're calling it a low, but there's a possibility he could be out this week. We'll have to wait for Friday's practice reports and how he progresses during the week. And same with McBride if he ends up in concussion protocol. Usually these guys that are hit the concussion protocol, they're out at least a week. And they do say this, if this is their first concussion, which I think it is McBride's. I know it's Smith's for sure. They say usually lingering effects are worse the first time. So I'll go to Sean. What are you looking at are you looking at any of these backup tight ends, or are you just moving on from a tight end on that team?
I'd just move on. I'd find a different team. You should have at least somebody that's in your team now that's there, that's like as a backup that you drafted, that's already on your squad, that's going to be better than any of the guys that you could pull out of those scenarios. So, yeah, I don't think that it's worth trying to chase that unless you're in dire straits.
So you think more targets? I know Brady chimed in here on the Michael Wilson instead of, Harrison Wilson.
Yeah, definitely. I think Wilson is going to be the number one guy that they're going to target. I mean, Michael Wilson is a good player too. Like, people forget he wasn't drafted like super late or anything like that. He's a high, I think, 2nd round pick, I want to say, or mid 2nd round pick. So, he's definitely got talent. He's a good player. I think that he'll get utilized more often, and, it's going to be probably a little bit more Connor too, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. Maybe. And the only other injury that kind of was a little, I don't know if anyone really even noticed, but Sam Darnold looked like he has a bone bruise on his knee. Looks like he'll be able to play through it. Just kind of like what Jefferson had with the hip. bone bruise on the hip. With treatment and stuff, these guys should be able to move right through it. And I don't know why you wouldn't. You're 3-0, and I mean, playing great. So the worst thing you want to do is sit out with injury when your team's high flying. So anything else on injuries, guys, you want to talk about, or do you want to, or can we move on?
No, nothing that I can think of off the top of my head.
Got you. And then we'll get into the rest of the injuries on Friday. Connor's like going in and out. I don't know what.
I think he's having some technological difficulties.
Yeah, he's having some battery issues. But as far as the rest of the injuries, we'll recap all that stuff on Friday once injury reports are over, are through, and we know what's going on for those players. Okay, so we are going to move on now to the scoring leaders for the week. And all right, there's Connor. Connor hop back in. So we're going to go into the scoring leaders. We'll start with the quarterbacks. I'll run through the top 12 quarterbacks of the week real quick. So you have Josh Allen at number 1. There's Gloating Sean. Dax number 2. Jaden Daniels number 3. Lamar 4. Purdy 5. Malik Willis, another great week in Love's absence, 6. Joe Burrow's back, number 7. Red Dalton, the Red.
Who was that? Who was that at number 7, Scott?
I know it's Joe Burrow. Yeah, Joe Burrow's back.
Okay. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Even though the Bengals are losing, for fantasy purposes, that's all we care about. Joe Burrow's back. Red Dalton, and at number 8, the Red Rifle's in. Sam Darnold, number 9. Aaron Rodgers, 10. Daniel Jones sucks at football, in at number 11. And Bo Nix, in at number 12. So those are your top 12 quarterbacks for the week. We will go we'll go to Connor. Are you in? Are you good?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, you're we can hear you, I guess.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties. My computer died, and then I'm on my backup, and it's a little behind you. But
it's a beautiful house you got there, though, man.
I know. It's my background on the only one I have saved on here.
All right. Well, I know Sarah, producer, is going to be excited to hear your analysis on this player, but let's talk a little bit about Jaden Daniels. I mean, he has arrived in yesterday's game, going into Cincinnati, who is a horrible organization, and going there and do that. It's looking like he's the front runner for the rookie of the year, don't you think?
Yeah, him and Malik Neighbors, I would say, are probably the top 2. Daniels has looked really good. He looked really good passing this game, but the last 2, I think he threw his first, passing touchdown this game, and then the previous one, he's only had rushing touchdowns. So he's definitely improving. That's another good sign. So.
Got you. All right. Now, Sean, I'm going to move over to a quarterback that looks like he knows how to run a particular offense that Bryce Young could not run, and that's Red Dalton. So putting 36 points up against the Raiders, I mean, it had to be done. You had to sit down the rookie. And moving forward, are we reinvesting into the Carolina pieces?
I wouldn't say go as far as reinvesting in them. I mean, we all thought there was somebody. Please answer their phone. I'm just kidding. We all thought the Raiders were not going to be a great team anyway. So it's not like they came out and blew the doors off of somebody that was going to be a contender. Let's give it a few weeks and see what happens with Dalton. People kind of understand what he's better at and kind of get a few game tapes under their belts and watch it before they play him. I think it'll change things. So yeah, I'm not 100% sold on him yet. I think Deontay Johnson, I would definitely keep an eye on because out of all the players, it seems like he's going to be the one that I think would benefit the most. So other than that, though, I'm not rushing out to buy anybody right away.
What about Chuba? I mean, they unlocked Chuba this week, huh?
Again, I mean, yeah, it definitely helped them this week, but everybody has good weeks and bad weeks, right? Like this, you never know. This could be their only win. It's still not a good team, overall. So I'm just not 100% sold on him yet. I'm still excited to see what Jonathan Brooks comes back. I'm a little more excited now that they have a potent enough passing game that will open up the running game a little better. But I'm definitely not completely back on the Carolina bandwagon or anything.
Got you. All right.
Back on it. When were you ever on it?
Oh man, I've been hollering about Jonathan Brooks all season, man. Like I was living on that Carol, and Deontay was somebody I liked. So,
Well, I got him. I got Brooks in one of my high stakes leagues and the home high stakes, and I'm keeping him. I'm gonna keep him around. Shallow bench spots, but I don't want to release him. I want to hang on to him. And then I'm gonna go to one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he's not seeing ghosts anymore, and it's Sam Darnold. And he had 4 TD passes this weekend. And this Vikings offense, along with their defense, is looking legit. So he opened up Naylor. He doesn't even have Hawkinson back. Addison's out, and he's still throwing tutties. So what do you think of here about Sam Darnold going forward? I mean, he's like a must play every week. I mean, what quarterbacks are you playing Sam Darnold over? Are you playing him over Aaron Rodgers?
Probably over Aaron Rodgers just because of the rushing upside of Darnold. I think he has a little bit more rushing upside. He has, Justin Jefferson, Addison hopefully comes back soon. Hawkinson hopefully comes back soon. Well, not too soon, but
we're getting the best part. He's got Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, and his defense is. The Vikings defense is probably one of the toughest in the league. I think we all saw the clip of Brock Purdy telling him that the steams are crazy or whatever the actual clip was. But the Vikings has looked good. I don't know if Darnold returns back to earth like Derek Carr did. Still a little bit worried. I don't have that much faith that he's an actual top 5 quarterback like he has been the last couple of weeks. But I think he still produces.
I think he's going to stay in.
What about you, Sean? Would you play Darnold over Purdy?
Yes.
Wow, that's
especially
bold.
With Purdy, especially with Ayuk playing like crap and Debo being hurt, McCaffrey being hurt. The Niners don't look like the same team right now. So I definitely like what Minnesota's bringing to the table right now. They're a solidly coached team. They've got the best wide receiver in football, and they're just getting healthier as time goes on. Hopefully with Hawkinson and Addison. So I like Minnesota a lot. The defense is playing really good too.
When are these guys going to learn that camp matters? You have Ayuk that missed camp, that is off to a slow start. Chase was off to a slow start, missed camp. Lamb off to a slow start, missed camp. Like, these guys don't have to learn that, you don't just come back into the NFL right away and produce.
Well, do you put that on the millionaire who's trying to get paid or the billionaire who's not wanting to pay him?
I put it on the player. I put it on the player to produce. It's not.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying though. Like, if the owners understand that, like they're going into a season, like their whole goal here is to win a Super Bowl because that brings them in millions and millions more, right? So if your player missing training camp is that detrimental to your season, don't you think you would make a solid effort to get shit done prior to training camp?
You can't just give everybody money. This isn't,
You don't have to give everybody money, but there's a lot of GMs out there that have been able to make this work. It's only 3 or 4 teams that seem to have this problem on a regular basis.
Yeah, but Ayuk hasn't produced up to his contract. That's just another reason to be wary of giving these guys contracts when maybe you don't think they deserve it. So,
that's another thing. They have the opportunity to trade him away. So again,
that's on the ways. I don't think you can just blame, an owner for somebody not producing on the field. I think you have to always blame the person not producing.
No, I'm not blaming the owner for that. That's not what I'm saying.
I think my take on it is, and I've been on this take from this before the season started. Brandon Ayuk has had one good season. He doesn't deserve the money he got. He's not in that upper echelon of receivers. It proved it this weekend. You can plug in Juwan Jennings, who had a monster game. That should have been a game that, with all the injuries, Ayuk should have been stepping up and in that role and taking that over.
Imagine had they traded Ayuk away to Pittsburgh, got what they were going to get that was already settled on, and then put Juwan Jennings in Ayuk's role. They'd probably be better off right now.
Exactly. So, I agree with Connor. You can't just give everybody money just because they.
But that's not what I'm saying. Is you give them the money. I'm saying you make your decision prior to that scenario playing out the way it played out, right? But in a way, guys, you're definitely keeping Jamar Chase. You pay that man. You know.
But in a way, though, the Niners kind of caved in because they gave him the money. He's not worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they both kind of caved because he took what they were originally offering the whole fucking time, right? But like, had he just taken it ahead of time, yes, right. But also, had they said, you know what, this fool's not taking the deal that we're willing to offer him, it's more than we should give him anyway. Let's take the deal Pittsburgh has on the table now. Plug our new Juwan in there so he's ready to take a full training camp in this role and move forward. You know, like that's like, to me, that's where like this stubbornness. I feel like it becomes a fight where it's like two like guys bumping chests. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like neither one wants to back down because they lose faith. It's like when you're a billionaire owner and you got millions of dollars of revenue on the line based on how the season goes, like I'll give you the extra million if that's really how I feel like you are as far as a player. And if you're not, I'm gonna trade your ass before training camp so I don't have this headache.
sorry guys, my wife's not home to watch the dog, and he
No,
barks at every.
the dog is like that's because he's upset about Connor's take right now. I understand, you know, like Connor saying that it's all on, you know, oh the player. Like, come on, man. These guys deserve to get paid for what they're doing. You know, it doesn't mean they all do the way that it plays out, but the ones that like Jamar Chase and CD, you know, those guys deserve to get their money.
And they did, and then they don't produce. I'm just saying that at some point you gotta learn that camp isn't the way to go about getting your money. Missing camp, you gotta still put in the work.
What other leverage do they have, really? Though, you know what I mean? Like, what other leverage do you have as a player than to say I won't play if you don't pay?
I think there's a lot. I mean, I think there's other ways. I mean, there's sit-ins. There's other ways. Like, hey, you don't get a deal done by week 1. I won't play, but I'm gonna practice because I know practice is worth it. I don't, it's time and time again, these guys don't produce sitting out of camp. And we're playing fantasy football. I'm not here to debate you on, whether these guys should be getting money or not. I'm here to talk about the fantasy football aspect, and these guys aren't producing out of camp.
Yeah, I just think
Connor doesn't like losing arguments.
I just think I'm not going to argue with the guy who wants his money. I mean, if we're all in the NFL, we want to get paid. Exactly, we want to get paid because it's a not for long league. These guys are out of the league. By the time they're mid 30s, young 30s, they're out of the league. So I don't. But you can't. There's a certain way to go at things, and I feel if you trusted your talent, you would do it the right way instead of being a crybaby about it. And it shows right now that he must not trust his talent because he's off to a bad start. And, he didn't go like Kirk Cousins, he bet on himself every year and he made himself a rich man and he, was good every year. And there's certain ways to do things. And I just think that Ayuk went at it the wrong way.
I think it's a good topic too. I really do. Because, Ayuk and Chase both went at it about different, completely opposite ways. Chase did his sit-in deal and tried to do everything he could just because the only reason he didn't practice, he didn't want to get hurt. That's understandable. He tried to do everything he could and then he never got his contract and he still showed up week 1. So, it's a different scenario between the two, but the outcome was the same as far as the team's, performance, right? So, it definitely did affect the way the season started for both of them.
All right. We'll move on to the running backs. Top 12 running backs for the week. This guy's going to be at the top probably every other week, if not every week. It's Saquon Barkley. Monster game again.
You think he's RB1?
He's
RB1
with these injuries now. The volume he's getting, he should end up the year. I mean, everyone had to know he was going to have a monster year going into Philly. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, they brought him in for a reason. They needed to run the ball. He's a talented running back. He just been, stricken with injuries. So
it's funny to me that he was the one that everybody was like, oh, they always run committee in Philly, always run committee in Philly. And Bijan and Brees were supposed to be these workhorses in their offenses. And now it's turned out where Braylon Allen is like got a role in the offense up there with Brees and, Bijan's still sharing with Algier. And here's Saquon just getting that, 80% of the offensive snaps, killing it.
And then coming in at number 2, everyone was all off season. Oh my God, they got Blake Corum. He's going to split carries. No, he's not. Kyron Williams. I told you before, McVay's a one running back guy. He's going to run one running back. So the only time Corum ever saw, and I'm a Michigan guy, the only time Corum ever saw anything was mop up duty a week ago. So Kyron comes in at number 2, 3 total touchdowns, monster game. The big dog Henry comes in at number 3. Chuba comes in at number 4 with the quarterback change. Jonathan Taylor comes in number 5. Aaron Jones, been a pretty good back in that offense, helping that offense in Minnesota. You got Zach Charbonnet, another ex-Michigan man. He comes in at number 7. And then this is a situation that I even talked about it in preseason. The split between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, basically a 50-50. There's no way Gibbs should have been drafted at the end of the first round, beginning the second round. Dan Campbell loves David Montgomery. He's his running back. So he comes in at number 8. Zach Moss comes in at number 9, Singletary 10, James Cook at 11, and then Breece Hall at number 12. So I'm going to go to Connor, and we're going to go right to the split in Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Are you feeling good if you took? I mean, obviously I know you're not a running back guy. Actually, I shouldn't even go to you. I should go to Sean. He's the running back guy.
I want to disagree with your David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs take a little bit.
Oh, okay, then go right ahead. So go ahead and disagree with the facts.
I mean, Gibbs is outproduced, right? As like points per game is outproducing Bijan, and Bijan's getting a little bit more touches with Algier, but Algier's still taking some of his touches, and weren't fading, Bijan because of Algier. Although I just think maybe David Montgomery is just a good back to have. I think Gibbs is still producing 15 and a half points a game. I think that's still what you're looking for out of your, late second round pick or third round pick.
Well, I mean, right now they're both, let's see, Gibbs is getting, if you go to the tools on the Ballsville games or the ballsvillegame.com website and go to my tools section, I have the snap percentages for these guys, and Gibbs is at 53%, Montgomery's at 44%, so it's not that big of a split. As far as the usage tool, which is the bell cow tool, if I scroll down, I mean they're both pretty much just splitting carries. So I mean it's a 50-50 split all the way down, and for drafting an RB at the end of I seen him go at the end of the first round, towards the end of the beginning of the season, or for front half of the second round. I just think it's a split I don't want. So Montgomery's got 51 snaps or 51 total attempts this year, and then Gibbs has 40. So it's a 50-50 split between attempts and snap percentages.
I mean, and they're both producing, though. I mean, if these guys aren't producing, Gibbs has 16 points per game, basically through the first 3 games, and I still think that offense line, or the Lions offense, can produce even more than they have been. So I still want Gibbs. I still think Gibbs is a good pick. I mean, 16 points a game is just something that you're pretty happy with, I think. With that,
I don't think Scott's hating on Gibbs as a player. I just think that Scott's saying that the fact that he's at 50-50 and you would have drafted Gibbs at the end of the first, top of the second, where David at like the 8th or 9th.
No,
that's where the difference comes into play for Scott in that scenario, I think.
Yeah, I don't like the split. Just doesn't bother me, is what I'm saying. I don't think the split is bothering you because he's not taken out of his production. Like, he's still producing fantasy points.
But that's not going to happen every week with that minimal amount of touches.
It has the last 2 seasons.
I
haven't seen anything that tells me that it won't.
Isn't Gibbs only in the middle of his second season right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It happened all of last season, and it's happened so far this year.
Yeah, well, like I said, I just think if you would have went a different route, at the end of the first round, end of this beginning of the second, you could have got a Jamar Chase at the end of the first round instead of. Would you rather have Jamar Chase or Jahmyr Gibbs at the end of the first? And I'd rather have Chase, even though he's off to a slow start. So
Jonathan Taylor was going in the same area. Kyron,
that was my point.
Any of those guys over.
So, all right, we'll go. We'll head over to another running back. and we'll go into Aaron Jones, who's had off to a good start in that offense. So, Sean, what do you think about the Aaron Jones in this offense? I mean, did anyone think that he was going to be anything in this offense?
I didn't. I thought that it wasn't going to be. I thought it was going to be more of a little bit of a split, and I don't think this offense was going to be that great with Darnold at the helm. But they proved me wrong, man. So I'm definitely on the Aaron Jones train now. I think that this man is going to be a solid producer for the season as long as he stays healthy. Oh, Connor's got to go empty out his trash. All those hot takes he was just throwing out.
All right, well then I'll go to you again, Sean. So one more running back that I see that's obviously having the second greatest week in a row, James Cook. Definitely still involved in the offense. Ray Davis did get in the end zone too, but it looks like from what I see, the success of this offense is because of the running game.
100%.
So James Cook, where do you see him? Is he going to be a guy at the end of the year when we talk about first round picks? If you're a running back guy, could he potentially be a first round pick next year, like back of the first round next year?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He could. So I was concerned a little bit about the Ray Davis edition. I'm not going to lie, but James has proven that he can handle that workload, and he looks like a solid person, and he's literally running behind what is so far, and I think will be throughout the season, the best offensive line in football. So I really do feel like this team is just going to continue to run the ball. They're going to continue to do that ground and pound, 2 tight end style offense, and they're going to just play that style of football all season. And, Josh will have these games like he did this week, but I don't anticipate Josh is going to be, throwing up those types of games if they continue to run the ball as well as they do, where I'm a little concerned about him staying at the QB1 role a little bit, honestly. But James Cook is looking solid. I think the top 5 prediction that a certain analyst threw out a few months ago or a month ago was definitely on par.
Got you. All right. We move on. We'll go to the wide receivers. And sitting at the top with a monster game, I'm sure Brandon Ayuk would like to be sitting at the top of this list, but Juwan Jennings had 11 receptions for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, if you picked this guy up off the waiver wire and stuck him in your flex spot, you were handsomely rewarded with a 50 burger, because I played up. I found him this week in one of my leagues, my big home league, and he put a 50 burger up on me. So that was not fun. Jamar Chase comes in at number 2. He's back on track. Pay the man. Rashee Rice, he just continues to get it done. 12 receptions again. And then Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors leads the lead, if anybody knows, doesn't know that, with targets. 37 targets. And he's in that conversation along with Jaden Daniels' Rookie of the Year in this pathetic Giants offense. He's living up to his, 4th round value? Is that what it is, Sean? Possibly 4th round value? Yeah, right around 4th round value. Amari Cooper comes in at number 5. Deontay Johnson, number 6. Rome Odunze, his first 100-yard game, comes in at number 7. You got 2 back-to-back Raiders receivers, Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers. I think that was just a product of the game script. Chris Olave's on the board at number 10. Amon-Ra, number 11, and then DK Metcalf with another long touchdown reception. So we're going to go right to the top. I'm going to go right to Sean. I mean, how do you not like this Juwan Jennings? I mean, it's not going to happen every week, but I mean, is this guy, he's got to be a WR3 every week, maybe a back-end WR2 every week.
Well, as long as he's a wide receiver 1 in San Francisco, he's a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Even if Debo and Kittle come back, he's still at least a WR3 play, right? Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Like if that contract that he signed with San Fran with Ayuk, as far as that's concerned, if Pittsburgh was okay with that contract, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't reach out to him and say, "Hey, you still want to do that deal?" and trade Ayuk away to the Steelers and just put Jennings right in that role now. Because Jennings looked like he can handle it. As soon as Debo comes back, we got I think week 8 is the trade deadline. Keep an eye on that potentially, because I definitely think that if the Steelers are still up for something like that, then, the Niners are going to be ready to move on the way Juwan Jennings has proven himself.
Got you. Now, Connor, I'm going to go right to you because I know you have a lot of shares of this guy, and he showed up, so pay this man, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he looked great. After he caught his second touchdown, they didn't let him get off single coverage anymore. They were done with that. He looked great on the first touchdown, little basically like inside out route for a touchdown. Burrow was hitting him finally. Higgins was finally back to maybe free up some space as well for him. So I expect to see more out of that out of the Bengals offense because they need to get it going because their defense looked horrible.
Got you. Now, Sean, Rashee Rice is just a monster. So next year, if there's still a little bit of rumbling about his, off the field issues, are people going to fade him again? Are you going to fade this guy again? Not you, but the community. Is the community going to fade this guy again, or is he possibly a first round? I mean, is he a first round pick next year?
It depends on his suspension. I feel like that as far as the way things sounds like anyway, excuse me, that the legal situation will be figured out before next season. So as long as that's figured out, and I would imagine that the suspension will come shortly after, whatever that may be, as long as that's less than like a 4-game suspension, I easily see him as a first round pick.
Connor, you think so, Connor?
What like the 3-game suspension? He's a first round pick. Yeah. I don't see it, but I think if he's not suspended,
you're gonna pass up on a Chiefs #1 wide receiver with Patrick Mahomes the way he's targeting.
Let's just say he's not suspended. Do you take?
I think he might creep up into the first round. I still don't see him going over a Lamb or a Monra or
no. Okay, what about AJ Brown? Would you take AJ Brown or Rashee Rice next year?
See, I mean, that's projecting way too far in the future, but on the path it is right now, I'm probably taking Rice just because of the target share and having Mahomes. But a 3-game run for this year to project as next year is just a little hard to do. But like I said, Rice right now, if you had to choose one for next year.
I mean, if you're in a 12-man league and it's not a super flex, I definitely think that Rice is on the table when you're sitting around the 10, 11, 12 mark.
Yeah. If he's not suspended, I think if he's a 4-game suspension is likely, it might, like you said, it might actually come this year if they get their situation handled. But if he's suspended the first 4 games, I just don't think I don't think anyone will take him in the first round.
That's why I said 3 or less. I mean, that was
even
4 games cut off.
Even 3, I still don't think people are going to be taking him at the 12 spot in the.
I think the receiver role is so deep that you can work it out for weeks 1 through 3 to make your way. Especially if you're drafting him early like that, you're going to be able to plan your draft accordingly and cover yourself. I mean, it's not the weeks 1 through 3 are not nearly as detrimental as like 13 through 15, right? So I want Chiefs wide receiver 1 in the playoffs more than I worry about coming in hot at weeks 1 through 3 with my top round pick, especially if I could easily on the 2.2, 2.3 take another receiver.
Yeah, but Chase was projected to maybe miss 1 week and was falling into the second rounds. I can't see people missing 3 weeks, like guaranteed 3 weeks, and then taking him in the first round. Like
I don't think it wasn't just that was Chase's issue. It was the Burrows injury scenario. It was everything. There's just a lot of up in the air.
Yeah, but it still was like a 1 week thing max that he might miss. And he still, he played, and people were like, "Oh, I don't really know if I want him week 1." And that's, Jamar Chase. That's
still like that. You're turning around and changing your argument in favor of a guy who sat out in the preseason. Argument.
How am I changing my argument? I'm saying that Rice will not, if he's suspended 3 games, will not be a first round pick. That's my argument. And
I'm just teasing you, bro.
No, I think going into next year, the way everything's going to play out, we're going to have some receivers that are going to creep up at the end or the beginning of the second round, end of the first round, like Neighbors, like Marvin Harrison Jr., like he was this year. So if you're drafting, like, let's say 105, 104, 106, some in that range, you start off with a receiver and you come back and he's sitting there for you, and he's only going to miss 3 games, I'm taking him. I'll take the gamble because I already have my number 1 receiver. If I took him in the first round, I'm going to get another pick in the third. So I think I can handle missing 3 weeks and know that I'll get him back for the rest. And he could put up a type of season that he'll outperform his draft capital. So that's kind of what I like. And I really don't like drafting injured guys or guys with issues, but if I figure at that point it'd be a value. That's just my opinion on that. But a lot can change from now until next year. We got a lot of football left.
Yeah. I mean, it's not people were fading Jameson Williams for a similar scenario, and he wasn't even close to proven compared to what Rashee Rice is. So I don't see him going past the second round. I can't, unless it's 4 games.
So, okay, Connor, the Saints offense came back to earth a little bit, but Chris Olave kind of woke up a little bit, 686 for a touch. So are we back on the Chris Olave train?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that's their number 1 go-to target. I think, like I said before, I don't know if I said it on the pod last week, but Shaheed's just not, Shaheed's going to be your boom bust Gabe Davis 2.0. He's going to catch your long touchdown pass every other game or so, and he'll get you some points. But I still think Olave is your Mr. Slant guy when Michael Thomas isn't there any longer. But Olave would get more targets than Shaheed. I think Carr will produce. Olave will probably reaches his point projections every week, just about.
Alex already wants to do a mock startup for next week. All right, after 3 weeks.
Hey, you're the one that brought it up, Scott. Got me arguing about Rashee Rice going in the first round a whole year from now. Come on.
Oh, geez, here we go. Hey, we all like drafts.
Can we talk neighbors a little bit, Scott?
Yeah. I want to
talk a little neighbors, man, because I'm going to start calling Daniel Jones Mr. Rogers because he loves his neighbors, dude. I mean, this is going to be in every single week. This guy is going to be getting 12 to 15 targets minimum. You thought Cooper Kupp was the guy to get after week 1. I think it's Malik, man. He is the guy.
Well, I know we were beating the drum. I know me and you were a little higher on neighbors, I think, than most people were. So I figured he would get peppered with targets. He's an awesome talent. I mean, just get the ball in his hand. Just find a way to put the ball in his hands and his run after the catch ability. I had him, if everyone was listening to our podcast earlier in the year, way back in February and March, I had him as my number 1 receiver coming out of college over Marvin Harrison Jr. So even after the draft, even when he was going to the Giants, I still thought he would end up the year as the number 1 rookie receiver. So I just love the guy's talent. Anyone coming from LSU is just, they just churn out wide receivers. So I've been on that.
Great.
Where do you put him in your dynasty wide receiver rankings now?
I mean, it's really close.
Is he in that bungle that group of 6 guys around at the front there? The Amon-Ra's, the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jefferson. Is he in that list now?
Yeah, he's probably 6 or so, right? Probably
I think
6.
he's a long. I think I'm not gonna not talk about Harrison either, because I think Harrison definitely he's right there with him. So I think it's awesome that we have 2 receivers like that coming into the league that are going to be very high dynasty prospects going into next year.
On Sean's point, I think it's like those 4 guys you mentioned. Your Jamar Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Amon-Ra, and then you have probably your Harrison, and then Neighbors. I would think would have to be dynasty rankings. I mean, I've seen some people are regretting taking Caleb Williams 1 overall in rookie drafts because of what Neighbors has done, what Jaden Daniels has done, what Marvin Harrison has done to start the year. I still think you still have to have some stock into Caleb Williams. He's looking like he's progressing, and the offensive line he has is just atrocious. So, but I think all the rookies this year.
Rome will climb up there too. I mean, Rome he has the potential to be in that conversation by the end of the year.
I don't know if he'll get quite that high. I mean, I think those guys are just on another planet. I think Rome will probably be with your Drake Londons, your Garrett Wilsons, that tier, the right below those, those top tier guys. It says I like Rome a lot too. I just don't know if he's, the Malik Neighbors, the Marvin Harrisons, the CeeDee Lambs of the world.
I think we would have to see what happens when Keenan Allen eventually hangs him up, and it's just basically him and DJ Moore. See if that could end up being a like Higgins Chase like wide receiver room. I know I was a little
Higgins.
lower
Who's the
on.
Chase?
Pardon me.
Who's the Higgins? Who's the Chase?
I think it would probably be. I would just go on a limb and say probably Odunze would be the Chase, just because him and Caleb came in together, and I think they want to grow together. And DJ Moore is.
I think he's a slightly more talented receiver, also.
Yeah. So we'll get over. We're going to move to the tight ends. This week was tight ends kind of came back a little bit. Some guys kind of creeped up in there. So we'll talk Dallas Goedert. He was number one. I mean, with all the injuries, will this happen moving forward? I mean, wheels up for Dallas Goedert next week. If AJ's going to be out, Devontae Smith's probably going to be out. The running game, it's going to be Barkley and Dallas Goedert. So it's another week, I think, for Dallas Goedert that should put up some tremendous numbers. Cole Kmet came in at number 2. I'd like to see what his target share is if Keenan does come back. Jake Ferguson comes back at number 3. Tyler Conklin, who I pretty much dropped in all leagues that I had him, finally shows up. We had a Dalton Kincaid sighting at number 5. I did make a trade for him. I was asking the panel. I had split reactions, but I did trade I traded Higgins for Kincaid because I was dying at tight end. So that looked like that worked out for 1 week. Noah Fant came in at number 6. Kate Otten's back at number 7. Brendan Strange, that's 2 weeks in a row, taking over for Evan Ingram at number 8. Titans tight end Nick Vannett. Zach Ertz in at number 10. Mike Gesicki, number 11. And Josh Weil at number 12 is also a Titans tight end. So I want to go to Connor. I was getting roasted, and I'm not saying this is going to go the whole year, but it's looking okay right now. Everyone roasted me about putting Zach Ertz as number 15 tight end overall this year. And right now he's sitting at number 18. So he's right in there, and he's producing. Jaden Daniels looks great. So am I I'm not saying this is going to be sustainable all year, but I mean, let's just say, could Zach Ertz finish as a top 20 tight end for the year, Connor?
It's possible. I don't see it happening. I mean, I think you have, your Mark Andrews has 2 points. I don't know if that continues throughout the season, although he has not looked great. I still think there's Sanat is, they seem to like Sanat a lot. I think he probably takes that role over by the end of the year, especially if they're not, they're looking to produce for the future if they're not, winning a lot of games. Although Jaden Daniels has looked great. But I mean, it's definitely possible that Ertz stays there and, makes a top 20. I don't think top 20 is that, good of a year anyway, but
not for tight ends, not the way they're working out.
Exactly. A top 20 tight end year is not what you want right now.
No. Now I'm going to go over to Sean, and I'm going to ask Sean to turn in his Bills card, because I called him and said, Sean, I have an offer on the table where I could trade T. Higgins for either Dalton Kincaid or Travis Kelce. And I almost fell out of my chair when he came back and told me Kelce. And I went and I said, you know what? I'm going to go with Kincaid. So, Sean, I am not giving you your Bills card back until you explain to me why you're off the Dalton Kincaid bandwagon before this game.
Hey, it wasn't that I was off the bandwagon. It was the fact that I had been a little concerned about the way our offensive line looked so good running the football that there wasn't going to be the need for targets. So this game is a perfect example of what I was talking about, because Dalton Kincaid was literally going to be a huge part of that game. If the Jaguars even showed up for that game and didn't send like their closest college team to play instead in their uniforms, then we would have actually had like a Dalton Kincaid game because they were targeting him early with deep passes and Josh was looking for him. It wasn't until they had no need to throw the ball basically that Josh didn't have to worry about it. And other than the long touchdowns that went to James or the running backs, Dalton was pretty much Dalton and Shakir were the targets. So, I mean, Coleman, I think, only played the one snap that he caught the touchdown on, if I'm not mistaken. So, I don't think that I was like so much like off the bandwagon as much as just concerned that we're going to be in these types of games so much as good as this O-line looks that I'm concerned they're just not going to throw the ball very much at all. So that's the main reason I went. Plus the fact that, the injury situation in Kansas City was screaming Kelsey's turn, and he just hasn't been there yet. I don't know why. It just hasn't happened. I think maybe filming a movie might have gotten in the way of his offseason preparation or something.
All right. All right, Connor. I'm dying at tight end. Am I running out there? Am I picking up Cole Kmet again? Am I picking up Tyler Conklin again? I mean, out of these, I mean, tight end's been so awful. I mean, who am I picking up for tight end? I mean, Noah Fant, Kate Otten, Brandon Strange, Zach Ertz. I mean, who am I picking up out of any of these tight ends?
I don't know if anybody's not dying at tight end right now. Is like there anybody like, hey, yeah, I have a great tight end that's going to produce every week. I don't know if there's been a guy that's produced every single week so far of the year. Brock Bowers maybe, but
the best situation was to fade tight end in the draft and just be streaming because you'd have been killing everybody right now.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I think my favorite tight end right now, and I mean, he's just got a concussion, is Trey McBride. I think he's looked great in that offense. But, like I said, he has concussion. But out of those streaming ones, I mean, it's just I think it depends on your matchup, honestly. Like if Kmet, the Bears don't throw the ball a lot, you probably want Kmet.
I would say more consistency comes from Conklin.
Yeah,
if you need that weekly guy who's going to get you at least like 7 to 10 points, like I think Conklin, who has the potential to get you 15, I think Conklin's the one that you're going to want.
Yeah, I think Kmet has Sean said it. Kmet, I think, has the more boom potential, but he also has the lower floor. Conklin, I think Aaron Rodgers has targeted Conklin quite a bit especially last week for those first downs. I think that will probably continue. So if you want, if you want your 7 to 10 points, you probably want Conklin, also depending on matchup. But if you want, a guy you can just run out there, maybe hopes to get you 20, 25 points like Kmet did this week and a couple of weeks last year, I think Kmet might be a good play as well.
Well, I say pick them up both, right? Stash them both. Play Conklin on your regular and play your Kmet on matchup base.
Another guy you can stash that has looked good is Eric All from the Bengals. If Gesicki's getting some targets right now, but Eric All is a rookie and he's getting some. They're forcing him.
Gesicki does not look good. Yeah. Like Gesicki looks like he's like flailing around out there like the wacky, wavy, inflatable flailing arms man, and every now and then he snags a ball.
Yeah,
he just doesn't look athletic at all. Eric All looks athletic, man.
Yeah,
that kid looks like he's good at what he does.
Yeah, they were forcing him the ball like on. I think he had a 4th down catch late in the game. Like they trust that kid a lot, and I honestly think that he probably takes that role. Like I said about Sanat, I think he probably takes that role here in a couple of weeks.
That's a good call, Connor. I like Eric All too. That's somebody that, if you got room on your bench and you want to stash him, the way tight end's been, I
might consider him my top target out of the 3 that we talked about. To be honest, now that Connor brought him up, it's a really good point.
But if you guys are dying at tight end and you want some in-depth information, if you just go to the ballsvillegame.com, go to the tool section. I have the snap percentage tool for tight ends, the target hog tool for tight ends. And just to give you some snap percentages, Goddard is 88% snap percentages. He's at 193 snaps. Conklin, 166 snaps, 91 percentile. So,
dude, Scott, I've got to tell you, man, like you have become so good at throwing in perfectly timed shameless plugs for the website. Like, I mean, we're both new at this podcasting thing, but like you came into doing that like the first time like a pro, dude, and you hit it just on the mark every single time. It's amazing.
I just love tools, and I love helping people out, giving them the information that they need, so you don't have to go to all these different websites and try to find all this information. So again, the target hog tool for the tight ends, the target leaders.
Where do you get that at again, Scott?
I think it's a website called the ballsvillegame.com.
Oh, nice. I'm definitely going there.
So that's that. That goes for our leaders and some of our player talks. Now we're going to step over to we're not going to talk about all the games. It gets kind of boring, but we're just going to target some games and talk about, what we think about these teams going forward and some of the players that they have on their teams to help your fantasy lineups.
1 second, Scott. I think we might have a pub sub breaking in.
Uh-oh.
Trevor is looking to take a pub sub, Gesicki or all. Who's willing to take that pub sub on Trevor's bet?
But what's the bet though? Like that he takes that job at the end of the year? You don't think Mike
How about top points overall for the season?
Yeah, I mean, but Gesicki has, again, I said by the end of the year that all takes that role doesn't mean he, automatically is a better fantasy play. But I mean, I don't understand the bet. Like, is it that he takes the role? Because that was my point, or is it that he outscores him total for the year?
The only way he takes the role, like you can't really say role because they could play both of them at the same time. I mean, if they're both healthy and they're in and out, there's no defined role. It would have to be like most touchdowns, most points, you could go most plays.
You know what, Trevor? I will take it, Trevor. Mike, or I think all will have more points than Gesicki by the end of the season. Write it down. Pub sub, me and Trevor. Thank you very much for lunch.
All right, book it. Add it to the pub sub list. We're all about pub subs.
Well, just a little snap percentages that Scott was talking about. All played 24 week 1, 52% week 2, and then 34% week 3, and so
it's climbing.
So I mean, like I said, by the end of the year, I think that's probably a good bet, Sean. Although it's a little risky because he's still a rookie. I don't know even if he gets on the field more, if he actually produces more this year. But like I said, it's not. I like that bet.
It's making me hungry.
All right. We got a bet in. All right, we're gonna go over some games. I'll handpick a few games I thought were interesting, and one game I'm gonna pick. It wasn't super high scoring, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-0. They're 3-0 with a Justin Fields led quarterback. They're winning by running the ball with Farty Smith and playing good defense in a tough division. They beat the Chargers, who I don't think it was the greatest win because Herbert was hurt, but I mean, the Steelers are 3-0. It's kind of no one's really like super fantasy relevant, I guess, on the team. That just, I mean, Pickens is okay. Najee's been okay. Fields has been actually pretty good. So going forward, Mike Tomlin was asked about the quarterback situation, and he basically said, don't ask me about the quarterback anymore. So I'm going to go to Sean. And what do you got to say about this 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers team? I mean, can they keep this going?
I mean, I think they'll keep going what they've got going, which is a blah kind of style of football that's never going to be super amazing to watch, but will work, I'd say, 3/4 of the time. When they run into a really good team, they're not going to be like this. I think Baltimore is going to wipe the floor with them. I think Cincy's going to beat them up. I don't think their defense can hold as well as they've been holding up against a better offense. So when the time comes, I think they'll come down to earth a little bit, but I don't think they'll be bad. I think they're going to end up at that 9-7 range. I think Fields is going to stay their starter for the season, and he's going to be right about where he is. I don't think that you're going to get a lot of those types of wow plays like he had in Chicago in this offense, because I don't think he has to do that in this offense. I think it's all just ground and pound and toss it up to Pickens from time to time. So it's just going to be this style of football for the rest of the season, and I wouldn't be too excited or too down on any of those players. I think they're going to be basically like a good base level player for you for the season.
Well, what I noticed about this game was, and just about the last 3 games is, with Justin Fields, I noticed that he's not running as much anymore. He's throwing the ball and been pretty accurate. And going back to Chicago, he's running for his life. He had no weapons. He comes over here, he gets some weapons, gets probably some better coaching, and he looks like a guy that could that's on the trajectory of possibly turning his career around. So I'm actually pretty happy for this guy. Now, Caleb, on the other hand, looked pretty good. But, I mean, for him coming into the league with all this hype and all these weapons, I mean, has he been that great? I mean, yeah, he threw for 363 yards, but, I mean, they were, in a game where they were they had no running game. He was just throwing the ball, going
They
crazy.
didn't bring anybody in on that O-line. That's the problem, man. That O-line is terrible.
Yeah, the O-line.
The O-line. It's like you got to have time to get these targets. You paid all this money to the ball, right? And he's running for his life, just like Justin was. So until they fix the O-line,
I'm just wondering if they would have kept. I'm just wondering if they would have kept Justin Fields, how he would have played in the offense, if he would have been running around like crazy again, or if
we saw it. We saw it last year. I mean, Fields is just not. He's in a perfect situation with the Steelers. I mean, they had an easy first 3 games. They have Indy this week. They finally play. They play Dallas next week. We'll see if they win against a tough team like Sean was saying. They haven't really played anybody either. They played Atlanta like week 1, I think, and then
and that's Cousins coming off his Achilles, which we all saw that he wasn't the same yet.
Exactly, and then you have Chargers. Herbert gets hurt, and then you have Las Vegas, which might be the worst team in football after what we saw in Carolina. I don't know if just because Fields has had a couple of good weeks. We saw it in spurts his first couple of years of his career that he could do. He can do some things on the football field, but it's like, is that your franchise quarterback? The Bears thought no. I think most people and that were Bears fans said no. So I don't think as fans we should be like, oh, what if? I think they made the right choice in going and get Caleb.
I agree. Caleb has shown some really physically freakish ability on certain plays, like certain throws and things that he can do. So once he gets some semblance of a good O-line where he's not running for his life or too scared to even make it through his reads, then I think you're going to see a market upgrade in him, and he's going to show what he was capable of, because there is some amazing talent there with that kid. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
No, I think both teams won. I mean, the Bears got their franchise quarterback for the futures, and it looks like the Steelers may have gotten somebody that can definitely run that offense the way they want it run. So I think both teams kind of won. Now, transitioning over into, we're saying the Steelers didn't play anybody. Well, the Minnesota Vikings played the Houston Texans and basically blew them out of the building.
And the Niners. I'm going to go. Forget that.
The Niners, which we did talk about last week, but we were still like, okay, 2-0. Let's see what happens at home against the Texans. And I'm going to go to Connor, and CJ Shred was not CJ Shred, and it was Sam Darnold that was shredding the Houston defense. So is this for real, the Minnesota Vikings, Connor?
Yeah, their defense is for sure. Like I said, we all saw the Brock Purdy clip. They can't get past their Minnesota schemes on defense. They really don't have too many they don't have your Jalen Ramseys or your TJ Watts or your Myles Garrett's. They just have good schemes back there that are they're leaning on, and it's working out for them. And then you have Justin Jefferson, and then Sam Darnold's been viable, which I don't think a lot of us really thought. I thought we probably honestly everybody thought they'd probably start 0-3, 1-2 or so, and they've really came out and shown a lot of people that their defense is for real, and Sam Darnold can win ball games.
Yeah, that JJ McCarthy injury might have been the best thing that ever happened to him.
We
to just not have to worry about it.
Yeah, we don't know. The thing is, both quarterbacks would be playing with this defense. Yeah. So
I'm just saying it as far as not having to worry about, are we going to put JJ in if Sam has a bad game or anything? This is Sam's team for the year. He doesn't have any concerns about looking over his shoulder if he makes a bad play. He can just go out there and wing it. And I think that's helping him as far as being more just kind of playing football rather than trying to think too much.
Just wait till they play New England. He'll start seeing ghosts and stuff. So.
No, I think that he's beyond that time in his life, man. He grew out of that ghost phase, I guess.
What impressed me the most was this Vikings
taking out the trash again.
Just the Vikings defense, just holding these receivers in this offense to just 7 points is just. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So
that was
yeah,
that was definitely a surprise for a lot of people. And I think it's going to be a exciting team to watch moving forward. And Justin Jefferson is definitely rising drastically based on Darnold's play, 100%.
Oh yeah, sure. For sure. So all right, we'll go into the next game. I thought was very interesting, and that's the Carolina Panthers putting up 36 points. Now I know the Raiders aren't the greatest defense, but I mean that just shows you that a veteran quarterback can go in there and relax the offense, run the offense the way it's supposed to be run, and this is the product that you get on the field. So I'll go to Sean and say, is Bryce? I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Bryce Young is. I mean, I was never a big Bryce Young fan. I thought he was not the best quarterback coming out of the draft. I said it all along. It was C.J. Stroud. But I mean, is this guy officially done for this year?
I mean, I wouldn't say he's like officially done for the year because they keep talking about him. He will start again. This and that. And Dalton is Dalton. Like there will be games that. But again, I don't think Bryce Young is going to be able to do anything in Carolina. I think that Bryce is going to need a new, place to go. I don't think he's completely done as far as like his NFL potential. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. So somebody else is going to have to groom him, though. I don't think that Carolina is the place for him at this point. He's not going to survive there. They'll probably sign somewhere, maybe spend a year as a backup or do something like that and then get an opportunity down the road. But I don't think that it's going to be in Carolina. It's over for him there.
All right, I got a big game next week to watch. It's going to be, I think, a huge matchup. I don't think anyone's really going to really care about it. But Connor, you have the Carolina Panthers bringing in the Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals. Who's winning that game?
I mean, I hope it's Cincinnati. If it's not Cincinnati, then maybe Cincinnati fans should be panicked.
Hey, this is the Andy Dalton revenge game. Don't forget.
This is the Andy Dalton revenge game.
Yeah. The Red Rifle revenge game. You shot my eye out, and I'm coming for you.
The Bengals have started like this before, though. Like I think they started like this last year, maybe the year before that. They started like 0-3, 0-4, and then made the playoffs and made it to like the AFC.
Like the Super Bowl year, even. I mean, geez.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Burrow's been a slow starter for most of his career. I hope and pray that Cincinnati wins this game, just because like if they don't,
smirk on Scott's face when you say Joe Burrow.
Oh.
Can't see anybody. I'm lagging like on this computer. I'm
you've
like,
seen the smirk before. Trust me.
I'm like 15 minutes behind on the video, and like my audio is fine, and so I'm just like leaving it.
You got to sell that. You got to sell that grand piano in the background. Get yourself a computer.
Yeah, I know. I have my computer, but it's not charging, and so I'm on my backup, and so, but it's whatever. It's like it's my college computer. It's my college computer I'm on right now. But back to
like your grandpa's cabin up at the lake.
Back on Andy Dalton, I want to go back a little bit further. I want to go back to the previous game when we were talking about Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold and Malik Neighbors and Daniel Jones. Like it might be time to put these talented wide receivers that are just quarterback proof. Like stop fading them. Was one point I wanted to make earlier, but I think Cincinnati wins this game against Carolina.
Oh yeah, if they don't win this game against Carolina, then there's big problems going on.
They have to win this. I mean, they had to win against the Commanders, and they didn't win. Right. So this is like, they have to.
Speaking of, where do you rank Jaden now? Where do you rank Jaden now? Do you rank him?
We're gonna go right to that game because that was another spotlight game that I wanted to talk about. Was the Commanders going into Cincy? Cincy was 0-2. It was a game they had to win. Rookie quarterback. You got Burrow and Chase back. Higgins is back. On a Monday night, big under the spotlights, and they just don't get it done. And Jaden just like steals the show. So go ahead, Sean. I'll let you go ahead and say what you were going to say about Jaden.
So, I mean, I think at this point, like Jaden Daniels is definitely in your top 10 quarterbacks. for the season. I think so. I think he's moving his way up there. His running potential and the fact that they're going to be in these shootout type of games throughout the season, in my opinion, means that this kid is going to be a superstar for your fantasy team. And, I feel like there was a certain player, I can't remember if it was either Cash or Ben doing this, but there was somebody who was really high on Jaden Daniels and taking him super early quite a bit. And
JoJo.
they're definitely proving themselves doing that because this kid is so – was it JoJo? And like, and
then Sarah took – I know we criticized Sarah. She took him, I think, at the end of the second round in our dynasty startup over like Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to give her some kudos because we were all like, I don't know. I think I would go the safe route. And she said, no, I'm going to take Jaden. And I tell you what, man, that bomb he threw to McLaren and then the throw he threw in the end zone to a diving McLaren. I mean,
the end zone throw was the one that got me, man, because he saw that play. I think they only had 10 men on the field or something. He saw that all happen like so early that he literally caught that pass, that snap, jumped back right away, and leaned back and just chucked the ball up in the air, knowing that he had no opportunity to take any time back there. And he said, I'm going to give Terry the opportunity to get it. And he threw a dime to the perfect spot in the end zone. And I'm not trying to brag or anything. My Al Bundy moments, I played a little quarterback back in the day, and I know exactly how you throw that pass. Like, you basically see that coming, and all you do is pick a spot in the end zone, and you throw that thing to drop it like it's a trash can sitting right there in the corner of the end zone. And that's exactly what he did, is he threw that ball up to a trash can, and Terry just ran right to it. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch, man.
No, it was a great throw.
Okay, Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico.
Why are you going to say that in the thread, bro? Why don't you just say it? You're on with us, man. You don't got to type it.
Because I wanted everybody to see it. When they came back to it, it's got to be there.
He said he was lagging. He just wanted to make sure he got it, just in case he lagged.
So funny. But no, man, I'm telling you, the way that Jaden looked, man, like he is. So I have Jaden and I have Anthony Richardson in my high dollar league, and I'm sitting Anthony Richardson for Jaden Daniels moving forward. So, I mean, that's something I would definitely not have considered after 2 weeks preseason. I'll tell you that.
Well, my two highest rated quarterbacks, like my two guys at quarterback, were Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels. Like, I think my two most rostered quarterbacks. So I feel good about Jaden Daniels. He's looked great. And I'm pretty sure on the pod a little while back, I said that don't be surprised if he overvalues, comes more valuable than Caleb. And they are like, no. So I think he is more valuable dynasty asset right now than Caleb is.
Yeah, the rushing ability that he brings to the table. I know he didn't run a lot in this game, but it's because he didn't really need to. Yeah. That rushing ability, the fact that he's throwing the ball as well as he is, teams are not going to be able to tee off on stopping his rushing ability like they have been, and I think it's going to open up the running for him. So I would not be surprised if you don't see more rushes out of him moving forward.
And not just his ability, but he looks in control, like mentally. Like he's telling his coordinators and his head coach, like, hey, let's go for it on fourth down. Like we've seen veteran quarterbacks be like that, and they say no, but it looks like he has the trust of his coach, of his coordinators. So that's really promising to see, especially out of a rookie.
Very CJ Stroud like from last season. Because they did that early in the season with him too, and it's very much.
I agree. I that was his coming out party. Everyone got to see, and like Connor just said, his total command. He looked like a 5 or 6 year veteran. In that offense. I mean, he had total command of the offense, and like Connor said, telling his coach and offensive coordinator, hey, let's go for it. Let's do this. Let's do that. I mean,
I don't even think he was telling him that. I think he was telling him, give me the damn play now because I need to hurry this shit up. I don't think it was even, I need to get this, let's go for a fourth down. It was, give me the play. Let's get set up. I don't have time for this.
Yeah. So that was really good. So, all right, before we get into some Ballsville trades, I want to throw something else out there. So I did throw out there last week. I thought Seattle would be a pretty good survivor pick. That Miami had to travel all the way across country to Seattle.
You did say that. You did say that. And I did not listen to you, and now I am dead.
You're dead. So if you're into Survivor, I mean, those teams that got to travel different time zones, coast to coast, usually they lag. So
it wasn't just that though. Come on, it was a little bit.
It was because of the situation.
But
I
I
mean,
took
it
I
does-
took the same scenario, taking Denver, going all the way to Tampa, thinking that was going to have an effect, and that didn't mean damn shit in that game.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Tampa
So,
looked old.
yeah,
Yeah,
Tampa
they did.
didn't. They definitely laid an egg, and yeah, teams can lay an egg, anytime. But God, Miami, if they don't turn things together, they're going to end up with a top 5 pick. So they
Yeah.
need two of them, like
Yeah, if
immediately.
you're in a survivor pool, now's the time to start picking against one team every week, no matter who
Exactly.
they're playing.
Exactly. So, all right, Sean, we got some Ballsville trades, don't we?
Yeah, we absolutely do. Let me get that set up for us here, and we can go through these.
If y'all don't mind reading them off so I can actually know what y'all talking about, that'd be great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll read them off for you. Don't even worry about that, dude. So our first trade that we got, it's a little blurry because I had to maximize the screen size, but we got a Juwan Jennings straight up for a Jared Goff.
I'm glad I can't see that one. I think I know the exact that one. I think it's in a redraft too, which is even like more disgusting.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. I don't understand. I mean, even if you're in dire need of a wide receiver, I do not give up Jared Goff.
What I expect happened is, and I'm not in this league, so I don't know. I expect he probably has 4 quarterbacks, and he's hurting that wide receiver. But I am not sure.
You can get a better guy than go for Debo.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I just expect. I don't understand where this was coming from, honestly, but I expect he probably has 4 quarterbacks. He probably picked up, Andy Dalton or somebody as his 4th quarterback, and is
short bus 11. I mean, short stack 11 over here definitely did not do a good job on this trade.
He's definitely short stacked now.
Yeah. I mean, these are Ballsville leagues, which are super flex, and the value of these quarterbacks, in my opinion, are, coveted. So, yeah, for who is that? Afman? Is that his name? Afman?
Yeah, Afman 9, I think.
And 9. So he picked up Juwan Jennings on the scrap pile, and turned around and flipped him for a super flex quarterback. So I just you could have got somebody a lot better for Goff than Juwan
100%.
Jennings, who would just be a stopgap.
We'll see how long. We'll see how long. Debo and Kittle are out. Like maybe another week or 2, and that's probably how long Jennings, play value is. But even
if Ayuk steps up and starts actually playing up to par a little bit, that takes a lot of that too. So
exactly. Even so, you still have Ayuk that's assumed to be their wide receiver 1 there, and so it's just like, are you really that comfortable trading away maybe a top 12, top 12 guy for him? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, man. I mean,
Would you trade Jennings for the Red Rocket if you needed a quarterback?
I mean, if I needed a quarterback, yeah, I would trade away Jennings for that all day. I mean, I don't think Jennings is going to be a long-term asset, so I definitely would trade him for somebody that potentially is starting all season at quarterback, even if it's on the worst team in the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, I just like I said, I want maximum value back if I'm trading a quarterback in a super flex league.
Long-term value.
We know, Scott. We know.
Yep, maximum value.
All right.
You hold their feet to the fire when they need a quarterback. All right, this one came.
We have an argument in here. Is it the Red Rifle or is it the Red Rocket? What is it?
It's definitely the Red Rifle, not the Red Rocket. Definitely.
Yeah, isn't the Red Rocket like a porn star or something from the 70s? Like
that's what I call my dog when my dog gets excited. His Red Rocket comes out.
You named your dog after a porn star? Come on.
All right, moving on. Let's go back to fantasy.
I think that's still in fantasy.
The next trade.
This was this was in high stakes number 2 Beast League.
High stakes 2 Beast. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. No, so this was high stakes 2 Beast. It was Cash, who's one of the strong owners, and he's in a lot of the high stakes league along with Mr. Ben. They do a lot of trading, a lot of activity. So looks like Cash traded Derrick Henry and Dallas Goedert and received Isaiah Pacheco, who's out for at least half the year, possibly from the talks, and possibly the whole year, and Brock Bowers. and he traded with the CT show. So, what do you think about that deal, Connor?
I love the Henry side. I mean, even if Pacheco is healthy, I still think I might like the Henry side even more. But with Pacheco being out, maybe 6 weeks or so, maybe longer, I think the Henry side just, gains that much more value. He's looked like the main focus in that offense, even more so than Lamar running the ball, like goal line. He's looked good. He's gotten actually a couple passes that you thought Justice Hill might get, but yeah. But I mean, I love Brock Bowers, but wow, that's.
What about you, Sean?
The timing of the trade makes a difference, to be honest, a little bit, because I'm sure he made this move prior to Devontae Smith getting concussed, but and the game, I'm sure. So
I don't know, but even so, it's still.
It's still a little lopsided for sure. The Pacheco situation definitely skews it because, like Scott mentioned, if there's any concern that he's gone all season, then, you're basically giving up Henry and Goddard for Bowers at that point, and that would basically like make it horrible. So, it's the risk factor would be too high for me to make this move.
What if Pacheco is healthy? If Pacheco is healthy, do you make this deal? I still say probably not, right?
I do if Pacheco's healthy.
I do it if Pacheco is healthy because I like Bowers over Goddard, and I think Pacheco and Henry are like pretty even.
Yeah, I think Bowers is like almost a 1B target in that offense now, so I would definitely go that route if Pacheco was healthy.
Yeah, I think I still lean the Henry side even if Pacheco's healthy, but I mean, I'm a Pacheco fader anyway.
I mean, both these teams are. Let's see. They're both like Cash is 5th in the league. He's 2-1, and the show is 1-2. So, I mean, no one's really ahead of the other really. I just don't like trading for injured players. I almost
think that he'd have been better off just giving up keeping Goddard, getting Pacheco Henry, or getting Pacheco Bowers for Henry only.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so looking at Cash's roster, so he has ETN, he has Carson Steele, and he has obviously just picked up Pacheco, and that's about it. He has nobody else. He's got Jonathan.
That makes it worse.
He's got Jonathan Brooks.
Waiting. Well, he's gonna have a great week, a great team after week 12.
Yeah, and then the show picks up. So now the show has Kyron Williams and Derrick Henry in his starting lineup, and then he's got Laporta, who's out, and so he's got Goddard to cover Laporta until Laporta comes back. So
he sent away Bowers.
Yeah, and he sent away Bowers.
So he had third running back.
So he had Bowers and Laporta. And
who was his third back?
So he's got Williams and Henry is the first two backs, and his third back is nobody. He's got Corum.
Okay, so then that's why he did the deal, because he 100% needed a running back.
I mean, he did the deal because he did the best deal.
Yeah, oh yeah, he made out like a bandit on somebody who absolutely needed a running back.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not a big fan of injured players, but like I said, he's got Steele to cover Pacheco until he comes back, if he comes back.
Steele didn't show me enough to make it a cover, though. I mean, Steele still like there's guys that I probably had over Steele.
I mean, and then you don't know what's going to happen when if Hunt is activated to the starting. Yep. I mean, what now? You're talking about a three-headed with P. Ryan oatmeal pants there. So,
I don't know. I think just Steele takes a back seat there. Like he doesn't even, he may get a couple touches, but I think basically Hunt will just be plugged in where Steele was.
Yeah, Steele goes back to the fullback role.
Yes, Perrine will still get the passing touches, and that's how that would go.
It's just going to be a three-headed mess that nobody else really. I mean, I don't want to deal with. So, but anyways, so all right. Well, that wraps it up for this Tuesday pod. We will be back Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please like and subscribe to the podcast, and also visit theballsvillegame.com for all your fantasy needs. And Friday's pod will be getting into more Ballsville as far as like the league standings, hopefully some more trades, and we'll be getting into some start sits questions for you guys. So for my producer, Sarah M21, for the good old boy in West Texas, Connor, and for my co-host, Sean S. Clem. Until next time, Ballsville gamers, we are out.
That's a wrap.